Is Georgia quarterback Carson Beck the top quarterback heading into the 2024 season? I think the answer is probably yes. I want to take a few minutes and talk about why he's number one, number two heading into 2024, and kind of the potential pathway for that to happen. But heading into 2024 is a lot different quarterback landscape-wise than it was heading into 2023. Last year we had a clear number 1 and 2, right, with Caleb Williams and Drake May kind of being that number 1 and 2 guy. And then, of course, we had Bo Nix and Michael Penix, who were also talked about being up there, and then Jay and Daniels, who kind of came, took a huge step to win the Heisman. So I think you had some clear-cut favorites heading into 2023, where this year's a little bit different, right? So I think it's fair to disagree, to say, hey, I don't think he's the top guy heading into 2024, but I don't think there's a clear-cut number 1, right? I just think as of now, Carson Beck's probably the front runner to be the best quarterback in 2024. So I want to take a few minutes to talk about the 2024 outlook and kind of what makes him potentially have the best pathway to be the best quarterback next year, and then talk about why I think he's the front runner, right? And so before we get into why I think he's going to be the best quarterback, or why he has the potential to be the best quarterback and what makes him potentially the best, let's look at his numbers from last year real quick. He had 3,941 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 6 picks, 9.5 yards per attempt with a completion percentage of 72.4. So his TD to interception ratio was excellent, 4-1. He pushed the ball downfield, and he was extremely accurate, right? So a really good 2023 season to head into 2024. So let's talk about some of the intangibles, like what makes him really good. Let's get some of that stuff out of the way and then build on top of that. So I think it's obvious his arm strength, right? I think it's obvious he's got a strong arm. You're not a 5-star quarterback out of high school. You're not the quarterback at Georgia without having a strong arm. And then he was extremely accurate. Yeah, his completion percentage was 72.5 or something, but his adjusted completion percentage, when you take in the drops, was right at 80. It's pretty impressive because he was pushing the ball downfield too and was still accurate. Number 3, he's also a better athlete than people probably give him credit for. Like, he's not going to be a burner by any means. He wasn't a Stetson Bennett type running, but he wasn't a statue in the pocket. He was able to avoid pressure. He was able to maneuver in the pocket. 4 touchdowns on the ground. Was in the 100-something yards on the ground as well, right? So the sacks didn't push him down too far, and I think he's battle-tested. He's been through some tough games last year. He was able to really kind of showcase his ability last year. He's battle-tested. And then maybe the most important thing is you add the weapons all around him, from who he's throwing the ball to and to his protection, right? He probably had the best offensive line last year. He was only pressured 19% of his dropback. So that's the least pressurized quarterback in the SEC. So I think those few kind of character traits as a quarterback, or the talent that he has, I think clearly makes him one of the best quarterbacks, right? Also, last year, something to build off of, he dominated the best opponents that they faced. Besides Alabama in the SEC championship game, he dominated their other top opponents. Tennessee, Kentucky, Mizzou, and Ole Miss were all ranked. I think they finished ranked. If not, they were ranked when they played each other. So they were probably the toughest teams that they faced. He had 11 passing touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. So pretty much dominated every team that he faced that was considered a quality opponent. But the first game that I kind of took a big takeaway was his first game on the road. That was against Auburn, and they were either tied or slightly down in the second half. I think they were tied in the fourth quarter. He had a really good drive to kind of help take the lead, the game-winning drive. They won 27-20. It was his first true road test. Again, Auburn wasn't a spectacular team by any means last year, but the game was close, right? So the game was close. They weren't in a great situation. They were on the road, and he was able to lead them back for a game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then they were able to hold them off, right? So you have that, and then you combine that with those 4 or 5 really good games that he had against his best opponents. I think that proves that he's battle-tested, and he dominated for the majority of the best opponents that they faced, right? All right, a few other things of why I think he has the potential, or what made him really good last year. He was excellent on play action and without play action. A lot of times you see quarterbacks being better at one or the other, specifically being better at play action, just having that help to get defenses out of position and kind of have one less defender that you have to take into consideration. But he was great off both. Even though play action can be easier at times for quarterbacks, right? On play action, his completion percentage was 73%. Over 1,600 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, yards per attempt were 11.1. On straight drop back, so without the help of play action, he was still extremely accurate, 71.9% his completion percentage was. over 2,300 yards passing, 8.5 yards per attempt, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So still a TD to interception ratio of 3-1. So there wasn't like a huge drop-off. Typically, you see quarterbacks usually are a bit better at play action, but they didn't use play action a ton. I think it was like 30-something% of his dropbacks were play action, 60-something was straight dropback. So he used it strategically, so he didn't have to rely on it. So he was excellent on play action and excellent without play action. Kind of the last thing that kind of intrigues me or is interesting to me is his offensive line protecting him with how quickly he gets the ball out as well. He's got the best offensive line in the nation, or he did last year. He led the SEC in completions and percentage of his dropbacks where the ball was out in less than 2.5 seconds. He had 17 touchdowns to 1 interception where the ball was out in 2.5 seconds. So if you combine his ability to get rid of the ball quickly, his ability to push the ball downfield, you combine that with a extremely talented offensive line, you usually have success as a quarterback, right? Like there could have been other quarterbacks that had a good amount of success in this offense. I think Carson Beck's talent maybe helped elevate the game. Also good on short passes, good on deep balls. There was really nothing that he struggled with last year, hence why I think he's probably the top quarterback returning in college football. So the overall takeaway, I think there's a path to be the best quarterback. I think you want to, one, build on what you did last year. If you can replicate the same type of numbers that you did last year, and I think you have a strong case to be the best quarterback next year. But number two, I think you got a lot of big games next year in 2024. The schedule is pretty tough, even by Georgia's standards. You have to play at Texas. You have to play at Alabama. You have to play at Ole Miss. So you have plenty of games to really kind of be in the big stage, if you will, and showcase your ability in front of a lot of eyes. You also open up with Clemson, which, Clemson was down last year, but that's still a big game. So you got a lot of really big games to kind of put on display your ability, right? So Carson Beck, in my opinion, he's probably the front runner to be the best quarterback next year in college football. It's way too early to kind of put a title, but I think as of now, where everything stands, he's probably the number 1 or 2 favorites to be the top quarterback in 2024. And there's a few other guys out there, from Quinn Ewers to Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, a few of the guys that you could make strong cases for, Jackson Dart. But I think as of now, I think Carson Beck is one of those favorites heading into 2024. But I want to hear from you. Who do you think is the number 1, front runner to be the top quarterback next year in college football? What do you think about Carson Beck and just in general? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And I don't even know if I gave a shout out to the channel, but if I didn't, we're just a big quarterback hub. We talk all things quarterbacks, from quarterback topics like this to film breakdowns. We have a podcast with current and former quarterbacks that come on the show and kind of talk about their experience. So if you kind of like this niche quarterback type content, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing. It does help the channel grow. So again, comment, let us know your thoughts on Carson Beck and who you think the top quarterback is in 2024, and we'll see you next time. Peace.